So I know you're probably thinking what I thought when Stephanie and Ann called me with this news, which is they've confused him with Tom LeBlanc over at George Washington, who's the president there. It's a different LeBlanc. But they didn't find out their mistake, so I stand here before you. I'll say this, even though it's a little bit dangerous in this city at this time, but I'm an immigrant. And a first-generation college graduate, first in my family to go to college. And I didn't speak English, which will become apparent to you, as my first language as a kid when we immigrated. And my parents had 8th grade educations, and my mom cleaned houses for wealthy people in the town of Weston, just outside Boston. And she used to plunk me in their libraries, which were beautiful, and I still can feel nostalgic about the smell of leather and wood. And she'd give me kids' books, and she would be vacuuming in the background and singing, as she always did when she cleaned. And I learned to read English. And you know, it is a version of the American dream. My mom worked till she was 76 in a factory. My dad was a stonemason. And my 2 daughters have lives that are scarcely imaginable to them. And they have that experience, that transformative experience, because I had access to affordable, high-quality education. So the American dream lived very closely. So when I got the news, I read all of Father Hesburgh's essays in preparation for today, and I was both inspired and a little depressed that the fights he had to fight, and he fought so well, are the fights we still fight today. We announced last week that we, with generous support, will launch an initiative to educate 1,000 DACA recipients across the country with our partners, and thank you. And we're working with homeless kids and kids who have timed out of the foster care system in LA County. We're working in refugee camps. As Ron said, we just this week opened in Malawi and Kenya. We're working with veterans. 15% of our online undergraduate students are veterans, many of them struggling with the unfair things we asked of them as we sent them on deployment after deployment. And in all of those cases, what I'm struck by is that fundamentally we're in the business of hope. And I think our future hinges on whether we have ambitious, connected, socially connected, network-savvy kids who have hope or who are hopeless. Because it's in their hopelessness that breeds the roots of the civil discontent and discord that we see in so many parts of the world. But when we give them education and the tools to better their lives, we are in the business of hope, and we're in the business of making the future better. Theodore Hesburgh believed strongly that higher education was the engine of social mobility and also social justice. And that's what we do every day collectively, and I am honored to be with people like Gail and Freeman and my friend John Sexton, Patricia from Trinity. They are in the business of hope every day. For me, the driver, the moral compass of that work are my 2 daughters and my wife. They have a fierce sense of social justice and very high BS meters. And my wife is here, and one of my 2 daughters is here. The other bad child is in New Zealand. But if this work can only make them a little bit proud of me on any given day, then it feels like I've done my job. And I'm incredibly grateful for their support through all of this. We often say that talent is universally distributed. In all of those places that I listed where we're working, in some cases pretty hopeless places, that gets reaffirmed all the time, but opportunity is not. And we need to find ways to reinvent higher education, holding on to all that is dear to us, and knowing that it will always be varied and there will always be a place for the kinds of institutions we embrace and love, but that we also have to find new models and new ways to bring education to more people. I think the country has never needed us more than it needs us right now. So thank you very much for this. I am absolutely humbled to be before you. Thank you.